Hey, I'm JJ Carroll. I'm retired Deputy Patrol Agent in Charge out of San Diego sector. I am extremely proud to be the graduate of Class 339. I miss the patrol, I miss the camaraderie, but I get a piece of it every time I come into the Old Patrol HQ podcast. Buckle up, snowflakes. We're about to spit a lot of truth.
Greetings and welcome to the Old Patrol HQ podcast. I'm your host, Gil Maza. Today, we come back and talk to retired Deputy Patrol Agent in Charge and author J.J. Carroll, Class 339, retired out of the NEWTON-AZRAK station at San Diego sector. And we cover the second chapter of his new book, Invaded, The Intentional Destruction of the American Immigration System. The title of the second chapter is The Border Present Day, Chaos. What if you were told there are currently hundreds and hundreds of miles of southern border unmanned and unsecured? Is this on purpose? Ask yourselves, why is it not being fixed? Come and take a listen. Good morning, JJ, and welcome to the Old Patrol HQ podcast. Again.
Hey, Gil. Thanks a lot for having me back. I'm excited to talk about the second chapter of my book. So thank you.
Well, I'm glad to have you on. I really appreciate, having read your book and reading through it again a few times, right? Because it's just chock full of facts and figures, undisputable, right? But I thought, we agreed that going through a little overview of each one of the chapters, by no means does it cover, all the information you've put in this book, but we want to give people kind of an idea of what to expect when they read this book and what they're getting. And the second chapter is The Border Present Day, Chaos. And so I'm going to read the very first paragraph here to get us, started, and then we'll discuss subsequent, the subsequent paragraphs from there. Okay.
Sounds great.
All right. It says, as I sit and type this chapter, I can state without reservation that there are thousands of illegal aliens sitting on our side of the border with their luggage, waiting for Border Patrol vans and buses to pick them up. Thousands of illegal aliens have already been arrested in the past 24 hours, and tens of thousands wait to cross the border in the coming days. Further south, hundreds of thousands of future illegal entrants began the trek through the countries of South and Central America and into Mexico to their illegal crossings into the United States of America. Meanwhile, millions of individuals from every country on the globe are starting their journey to Central America and then to Mexico. As you read this, there are hundreds of miles of the almost 2,000 miles of the southern border where there is not one United States Border Patrol agent. Boom. Let's start from there.
Okay. Now, when I do these podcasts, Gil, and I'll have guests read certain quotes, parts from my book, or go and see my videos, and they'll just ask me, and then they'll say, "Okay, well, I don't understand this," and I said, "Well, okay, well, what don't you understand? Are you saying that this is not true?" And then, because I want to make a foundation when we have a discussion, an argument. So we're in agreement that what I just said is true and factual. So you look at today's numbers, you look at the national numbers, not the Southwest border BS that CBP puts out. The national numbers, the last 16 months, we have averaged over 200,000 to 302,000 illegal aliens entering our borders, north, south, international airports, etc. Yes. The average is 256,000 a month. That equates to over 8,500 a day. And those numbers are now spiking. Even the left-wing media is now saying, "Dear God, we're now pre-Title 42 and beyond."
Yes.
I know just from my data and looking at it, we are looking at between 9,000 and 10,000 people a day being arrested within the next week or two. Yes. We're not even talking about the getaways, right? So when you talk to me about, when you read this, and it infuriates me, the last line you read was, there's hundreds of miles of the border, there's not one Border Patrol agent. So when you hear the propaganda coming from Secretary Mayorkas to the Border Patrol chief, and now, very sadly, the propaganda coming from journeyman agents sitting in the front that they look like Baghdad Bob, as from the Iraq war saying, no, we're all good as American troops are behind them. We have agents and parroting Secretary Mayorkas saying the border's closed. How's the border closed if there's 256,000 people that you've arrested and subsequently released? You're releasing as many as you catch. Gil, I've had this discussion before. I had this on the last podcast I was on yesterday. I asked this, a gentleman asked me, what's the difference? I don't understand. Tell me the difference between your career prior to Biden and now. And I said, listen to me, man. I said, in 23 years out of my 24-year career, I did not work for Joe Biden. I said, do you know how many people I released into America? And he goes, and I said, tens of thousands of people I arrested myself and indirectly supervised and signed the paperwork. I said, I let go zero. Do you understand that number? Zero. Joe Biden and the Border Patrol has arrested over 7 million people, and they've released equally or at height 85 to 90% of these people. You're talking about millions of people being released that would never been released before. So please, as agents watch this, do not talk out of your ass and tell me that this is normal. This is not normal. And when you have agents parroting management and chiefs' ideals and lies, then you become part of the problem.
Well, what do you
this
say
is disgusting.
What do you say to the idea that, they're saying that, well, this Border Patrol agent is just doing his job. He's being told what to say by the upper management, and he's just doing his job. And he's not talking to America, JJ. He's just talking to the illegals. What do you say to that?
I say that you're a liar, and I say you become part of the problem. I would never, as a journeyman agent, never get in front of there and parrot those lies. Hell, when I was a supervisor, watch commander, and the deputy patrol agent in charge, I would never get in front of a media and lie like that. Hell, when I would go to musters and I had to push down policy that sucked, that was wrong, I would tell at those musters, this is what is being pushed down. We are going to work around it. But I would never get up there and say at muster, hey, it's all good. Yeah, it's wonderful that we're going to do prosecutorial discretion under Obama. No, I never said that. I told the truth. So as a journeyman agent being forced to tell lies, I don't believe that. You are complicit, young man, in perpetuating lies to the American public, and you should be ashamed of yourself. And I don't care. You want to come talk to me on my podcast? I'll be glad to let you have all the time you want. But get ready for me to shoot you between the eyes with truth, and I'm going to embarrass you. Because if there's 256,000 people crossing the border every month being arrested and released, that's not normal. That's against your oath of office.
Yes.
You swore an oath, the same oath I did. You are following unconstitutional orders. And I understand that guys are being forced to do this, but do not go in front of the American public and lie and tell me that everything is normal on the border. Because there is nothing that you are doing in your job that resembles what I did in my job 2 years ago. Nothing.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, right? So the idea that the main audience is the illegal aliens out there is ridiculous. There are millions and millions of Americans watching a uniformed agent or officer, CBP, DHS, tell them that the border is closed to irregular immigration, that the policies had not changed, that what we're experiencing right now is simply a global phenomenon, right? Which even Chief Ortiz tried to pull with Congress and say, this is a global, and the guy shut him up right away. He goes, no, this is about policy. This is about policy. But, one of their arguments to me is, well, he knows that there's a crisis. He knows the truth. And so doesn't that make it worse that he knew the reality, but yet he parroted the lie to literally millions and millions of people across America, not the illegals. I don't think any illegals are subscribed to CBP, DHS, social media. Maybe some of them do watch it, I'm sure, but it's the American people that are going to vote, JJ, based on the fact that this sworn uniformed law enforcement officer just told them that everything's cool.
Well, you know this from history. You just keep repeating that lie over and over and over again, and it becomes It comes the truth.
Yeah.
The border secure. You have the DHS Secretary Mayorkas standing in front of Congress, and they recite the same numbers I recite, and he stands there with his cold stone look and saying, nope, the border's secure. Nope,
smirk.
Border secure. And it doesn't matter because he knows that it's not. But if he keeps telling it, saying to America, border secure, it's all good, we have it under control, everyone will go, okay, it's good. No, as I write in several chapters ahead of this, I have a whole chapter on Mayorkas. And I state very plainly, the very last sentence, that Mayorkas is a traitor. And I will not backtrack. I won't remove that from my book. I will not remove that from my vocabulary. He is a traitor. And when you're a traitor hurts his nation intentionally, knowingly, purposely, intentionally. And if he's not doing this intentionally, and he's not doing this purposely to destroy America, then I want someone to give me a rational answer, an explanation.
That would be
and
nice.
Nobody. And I've been on hundreds of podcasts, and I've talked, and I've asked that question hundreds of times. Tell me, give me an explanation. And they can never explain why our government has allowed in. Listen, let's look at the total numbers, okay? Because we're going to talk about this in this book about the chaos.
Yes.
We're at 7 million arrests and counting. By Joe Biden's end of his 4th year in office, these numbers are going to accelerate. They're not going to get lesser. They're not going to decrease.
Well, they're building a superstructure to, across the country to accommodate even more illegals in the future.
Well, in the end of his term, his first term, Joe Biden will have arrested and released over 10 million people. Okay. I know, and you know, that another 10 million to 15 million crossed illegally through the open borders. So in my book, and I lay it out, by the end of his term, he is going to have allowed into 25 million illegal aliens. Now, you tell me, how the hell does that benefit America? I'm waiting. Tell me, how is that good for America?
Well,
nobody can give me an answer.
Right. So getting back to Mayorkas, right? His tactic before Congress is textbook tactics, right? He doesn't come with any information. He has it all. No. He doesn't come with any answers. And it works out perfect for him, because who does he have to be afraid of right now anywhere in the federal government? But I want to get back to the book where you say, when something is obviously as wrong as an open border, you must ask why it's not being fixed. Talk to us about that.
That's the question that is never answered. Okay. And we asked that question where I said, okay, let's say, Gil, let's say that I'm totally off. My numbers are completely off. And let's just go off of DHS numbers, which show that we'll hit 10 million illegal aliens arrested by Biden's. That's their numbers.
Their numbers.
And let's just say they're claiming 2 million illegal aliens have absconded. At least another million they'll claim in the last year of his office. So now we're at 13 million. So let's say I'm 50% off and we're at 13 million. Are you okay, America, with 13 million illegal aliens in your country? 5% of your population in those 4 years. We're not talking about the 35 million illegal aliens in our country right now. We're talking about the ones that he let in. And then you have to ask the question, why? Why would a government allow themselves to be so vulnerable with terrorists, criminals? At the best case scenario, we're going to get a Guatemalan family of 4 that's going to destroy our social welfare and abuse every aspect of our social services. That's the best case scenario. So why? Why is this being done? And in my book, I lay it out. People think the complexities of the border issue, the solutions and the reason why has to mirror the complexities, and it's not. The reason why is the Democrats are banking on these millions of people to receive amnesty in the near future because 99% of them vote Democrat.
Oh, yeah.
The Republicans are run by the Chamber of Commerce. All of it. Big companies, big organizations, and Chamber of Commerce is pounding the drum for more legal immigrants and amnesty. So that gives the Republicans power and wealth at the same time. This is a uniparty, right? This is one party making this decision. about the border. And that's the reason why. And it's disgusting. Those people that want the border open is in both parties. America, strangely enough, America cannot come to an agreement on anything, right? On anything. However, all the way back from my first time in the Border Patrol in 1997 to present day, fact check me on this, every poll, be it far left, liberal, far right, demands over 80% want illegal aliens stopped. And here's even crazier. In the same polls, they want legal immigration reduced. So you have 80% of the nation says this is unsustainable, and yet they do nothing about it on both parties. Right. On both parties. Because let's go back, Gil, real quick, and remember that in 2016, Donald Trump had the presidency, the House, and the Senate. And Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, two traitors to our nation, would not give him the funding to build a border wall. That same wall that I was at and you were at, and our friends are getting their heads caved in, getting permanent injuries, committing suicide. You two bastards wouldn't give us the money to build our fence, but you two bastards will send $1 trillion to Afghanistan and Iraq to build their walls. And McConnell, you old demented bastard, will send $150 billion to Ukraine to build their wall, but you won't give me $5 billion to build my wall. Yeah, you can go pound sand. I swear to God, there's nothing makes me more angry than those liars and the way they treat us and allow us to get hurt and injured on the border. It's inexcusable. I'll never forgive them for that.
Well, you remember,
but that's why, Gil.
Yeah. And you use an example of what's going on in Great Britain in your book.
Yes. And I like to put things in context, right? Because when I say this in this chapter, it's chaos, right? This is purposeful. This is intentional. And you and I talked about this before. They have made the chaos become normal. We're normal. We don't even get mad that 8,500 people are being arrested every day. Yeah. Okay. We're not even upset about that. We're like, yeah, that's just the way it goes. And I say, okay, let me show you how they manipulated us through propaganda. The UK is getting about 5,000 boat migrants a month, and they're losing their mind, right? They're like, we can't do this. This is a state of emergency. We arrest 5,000 people in the first 8 hours of every day. Yeah. The first shift on midnights. And we're not even talking about the absconding. So in one shift or a shift and a half, we arrest more people than UK does in a month. And they're in a state of emergency. Yeah. And what does America do? We just shrug our shoulder. It's okay. No, it's not okay. And it's not normal. You're losing our country. It's a demographic shift is occurring. And it's not a race demographic shift or an ethnic demographic shift. It's a citizen versus non-citizen. They can control these individuals. Listen, and I have this in my book, and even my former publisher pushed back on this and says, you can't say this. Well, hell yeah, I can say this because it's the truth. If it's the truth, I don't care how it sounds. It's just the truth. 50% of all these people coming across our border are illiterate in their own language. Let me repeat that. Illiterate in their own language. The vast majority that come over will not even have an 8th grade education. Now, you explain to me, do I need 25 million lettuce pickers and house cleaners in America? Do I? Answer me. No, of course I don't. So why would I need 25 million people in our country that are illiterate? We are a first world country. There is no reason why we would allow this. And let me be very clear. This is not about legal immigration. I love legal immigration. Gil, you've done this through your career. You roll up on somebody that you think crossed the border, near the border, and you stop your car and they don't run. And you're like, why are you not running? And then they pull out their back pocket their laminated naturalization paper. I will have conversations with them, and they're so filled with joy that they're U.S. citizens. Yes. And yes, sir, I love this country. I have protection. You're here to protect me. And I'm like, damn it, this is exactly what we need in our country. Legal immigration. We're talking about illegal immigration. Our nation is founded for the premise of freedom and opportunity. However, you cannot have freedom and opportunity that the world wants without law and order. If you don't have law and order, like I say in this chapter, you have chaos. And when you have chaos, you cannot have freedom and opportunity because everyone's stealing stuff from you.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing, right? So you have this constant influx, thousands and thousands and thousands a day of people, unsustainable. And the funny thing is, JJ, right? You got the mayor of New York who's received the minutest fraction.
Yes.
In these last 33 days of this putrid administration, has received the minutest fraction, and his crying crisis. Massachusetts, it's a crisis.
Yes.
But they're not saying stop it. They're saying just send us more money.
Well, you know what?
I just send us more money, right? But the border communities have been underwater and devastated this entire time.
Well, here's something. It just came out, so you might have just missed this. This is interesting because you're right. These are all sanctuary cities, Democrat run.
Yes.
But I've seen a change, and it's happened almost overnight. So that's why I said you might have missed it. Is now the mayor Adams, the sanctuary city mayor of New York City, and DC Bowser, who's completely incompetent. They're now saying, Biden, you got to do something. You can't keep allowing this to happen. They're actually starting Gil overnight to sound
Seriously.
like you and me, right? And you're a white supremacist. I could see that you're 100% white, so you're a white supremacist.
You can tell by my glasses, right? My my Steve
absolutely.
Forsing Sicario glasses.
So, but my point is, they're saying the same thing that you and I are saying now, finally, because you're absolutely right. New York City has a population of 8.5 million. He has received 95,000 legal aliens. 95,000. And you know what he started to do? He did a no bid contract for $432 million to bus them out of his city. These Democrats.
Is he deporting them?
Yes, he's deporting them after he yelled at Abbott and DeSantis. They are, and I'm putting out a video today that I just did on Viewpoint. And I talk about this. They are three things. These cities and states that are all screaming and declaring state of emergencies, they share three commonalities. Number one, they're all Democrat run. Number two, they're proud sanctuary cities. And number three, they embolden the height of hypocrisy because they do everything. They railed against you and I. They're doing it and saying it. It's our major cities are become saturated. So this chaos, as nothing is being done, like this Border Patrol agent that you referenced that said, no, the border's okay. It's no. You cities and states that are declaring states of emergencies, you have to understand the floodgates are still wide open. Yeah. You're frustrated and scared and angry about what's happening in present day. You're not looking at 2 months down the road, 3 months down the road. That 95,000 in New York City is going to be 200,000 in 3 months. And then guess what happens in 3 months in New York City? Freezing cold, freezing rain, sub-zero temperatures. So all of those tens of thousands of people that are living on the streets that are all single adult males, mind you, from 175 nations, they're going to revolt, because if they don't revolt, they're going to die. So it's going to be chaotic in those cities.
Thank you, JJ. We've heard recently, right, the talk about how ICE is being completely ordered to a non-enforcement, no interior enforcement. They don't want them to do enforcement, but you you talk about it in your book as well about how ICE publishes arrest numbers for FY22, and you say they're abysmal. Talk to us about that.
So you look at the arrest numbers for Trump, and I have those arrest numbers in my book. He was over 100,000. At one point, it was 170,000 arrests in 1 year. So they were going after, and I would talk to I have several friends that are ICE supervisors still on duty. And they would tell me, dude, during Trump, the pride was off the chart, like in the Border Patrol. Everywhere they went under Obama, they would just sneer at ICE because they couldn't do anything. Now, everybody they were coming in contact, they were arresting. So people were running through the alleyways. He says now we can't go do anything because we're so inundated, and the numbers dropped off about 80%. 80%.
Yeah.
So when you talk about cities like San Diego, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., New York, Philadelphia, those are sanctuary cities. So if they will not turn over bodies that they arrest that are hardened criminals, that makes ICE that much more important and necessary. And let me give you an example, and I talked about this in my book. I talked to an ICE supervisor in San Diego, and it goes to the chaos and the normalization. They finally got their criminal unit back up, their fugitive ops back up, and he arrested 170 people, and he was excited. I said, that's great. I said, but that's like in a day or two, right? No. That's been, since we got up, it's been several months. And I'm like, dude, San Diego County has 3.5 million people. They're saturated with criminal aliens. I said, do you see how warped your mind is now? And to his credit, he goes, dear God, you're right. You're right. I should be arresting 170,000, not 170.
Yeah.
So ICE has been, like, you think Border Patrol is bad? ICE is being devastated. Those guys don't do a damn thing. There's nobody being arrested in the interior. But don't worry. The border is secure, Gil,
Yes,
and there's
right.
no irregular migration happening on the border.
And all the policies are working, right? So,
Absolutely.
and here's the thing too: a lot of the field intel I'm getting is they are pulling people, right? Because I and this was reported even by Rodney Scott and others. Up to 80% of the southern border is left unmanned and unsecured at any given time. And I get messages from the field saying we just got pulled off from a confirmed Title 21 dope load. We just got pulled off from a confirmed, people coming in to go process.
Yep.
They literally, I mean, how do you pull somebody off a dope load? That, to us, that is almost like sacrilege, right? That you would do something like that. But that's the kind of things that are happening all across the border, because the priority is to process bodies into the country as quickly as possible, and then just forget them and just, wherever they go. I wanted one part in your book that really stood out to me in this chapter. Okay, as you start talking about the ATD, right? The ATD.
Yes.
What's the acronym here? Okay, alternative to detention. And I'm just going to read that paragraph, and then you can break it down for us. It says the average American looks at ATD and thinks, well, at least the government knows who they released and where these individuals are. Well, not so fast. In September of 2022, Syracuse University's research group called Transnational Research Access Clearinghouse filed a Freedom of Information Act request with DHS, requesting to secure information on more than 350,000 individuals enrolled in the ATD, that's an alternative to detention, program from fiscal year 2019 to August 2022. DHS responded to TRAC's Freedom of Information request with an astonishing statement. Do you want to relate that one to us?
Yes.
Page 26.
Yep. So you're looking at, DHS ERO came back and said, you have requested, this is a quote, you have requested records pertaining to the latest alien by alien anonymous data covering all individuals who were taken into custody by ICE and entered or transferred to ICE ADT custody from beginning of FY 219 to August 22. ICE has conducted a search of the ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations ERO for records responsive to your request, and I quote, no records responsive to your request were found. So what that means is 350,000 individuals were given ankle bracelets or iPhones, and they lost their records. They have no idea where they are.
Unbelievable.
Let that sit. I know 350,000 is a fraction of the millions that come across. But this is an epidemic of stupidity and incompetence. But nobody can be this stupid and this incompetent because it permeates through the whole DHS. So these are reasoned strategic plans on their part. So you have 350,000 people just gone in the wind. Let's just take 1 second and let's enumerate their failings, right? So that you have 350 individuals that you promised that you're tracking, you have no idea. You've lost over 100,000 children, unaccompanied children, with thousands of them being under 5 years old. You have no idea who you gave them to.
Yep.
None. You don't know where they're at. They're all being sex trafficked or labor trafficked. That's two bungles. You've created a CBP One app that the cartels now hacked in, and they run the CBP One app. They run it. They determine who goes in and who doesn't because there's no geo-tracking on it.
Exactly.
Okay, that boondoggle. Let's talk about the boondoggle of paroling, using immigration parole, which is illegal, paroling millions of people into America for asylum. I mean, I could go on and on and on.
Yeah, and you do it. You lay it out perfect in the book, so perfectly, the way you lay it out.
Well, thank you. And I'm disgusted by the lies and liars throughout my career, and more in particular now, when I hear Mayorkas, I expect Mayorkas to lie. I expect a chief like Ortiz to spew propaganda and then be shocked that agents push back and go, dude, what the hell are you talking about? Right?
Yes.
And I understand that these agents now that are coming out in uniform and spew on those lies, that's a new one. That would never have happened during my career. Never. The guys that we called sympathizers or the ass kissers, even they knew you can't do this.
Yeah.
You cannot do this. But this is a different time and age. But
well,
when
the
you
morality
look at
now, JJ, the morality now, and even amongst a lot of the agents that pushed back on me, and it wasn't a lot, there was just a good handful. Right. And this is the first time actually that, I mean, when I was full on against Ortiz, I got 3 people that reached out to me personally to discuss it. And I convinced 2 of them about the reality of what I was doing and almost immediately. Okay. And even that third person now is a big buddy of mine on Facebook. Then now we have a morality that says that they quoted to me. They know the reality of what's going on in the field, but they have to say this because their higher ups tell them to do it. And that makes it 100 times, 1,000 times even worse. But their morality is if he doesn't believe it, then it's not wrong for him to say those words, you know?
Well, this is a different generation of young men and women, not just in the Border Patrol, in society.
Yes.
Everything has been turned upside down. I'm supposed to believe that men can menstruate and have babies. So if I have to believe that, then telling some agent to tell the world that the border's fine. I mean, the absurdity of this, Gil, is you can turn on any, not even talk shows, just go on Facebook, go on Instagram, YouTube, and just type in U.S. border, videos of U.S. border from present day to 5 years ago. It's just chaos. There's just millions of people pouring across the border, and you're telling me that it's okay. I mean, in my book, I talk about, in this chapter, I talk about the overdose deaths. You mentioned pulling agents off of dope loads. Under Trump, his last year was 50,000 overdose deaths. In Biden's second year, it doubled to over 107,000.
Yep.
It's in the third year we're careening to 150,000. There's a direct line between open borders and drug overdose deaths. But yet I'm supposed to believe that the border's closed and secure. Again, I don't mind you having a different political belief than me. But you cannot lie to my face and expect me just to go, okay, no, I'm going to push back. I'm going to call you. I'm going to point out your ignorance. your willful ignorance, and your lies, because this is insanity. I would love, and I'm hoping one day soon, to get to be able to sit in front of Congress and speak the truth instead of, and I won't use platitudes. I won't be nice and kind. I'll speak just like this. And the moment one of those Yahoo morons come up with, well, the border's secure, I'm going to go down the line real fast and show what an ignorant fool they are. But that's what we need to do. People like you and me, agents that cannot talk in front of media, they should talk to their friends and family and make sure that they understand, no, this is a lie. This is not true. This is what's happening.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, at the end of the chapter, you say the Center of Immigration Studies, that's CIS, Todd Bensman. Those guys are doing a fantastic job out there, right? Getting the numbers and the stories out. It says they claim that the number of foreign-born, both legal and illegal immigrants in our country is over 47 million. If these numbers under Biden continue, and I have seen no reason why they won't, and we agree, there will be over 50 million illegal aliens living in the United States of America by 2024. Ask yourself to name one country or empire in the course of human history that has survived this ratio of its residents being illegal aliens or foreign-born legal residents or citizens. The obvious answer is not, there is not one. If you're a rational person, the very next question asked would be, why is this being allowed to happen to our country?
Why it's being allowed, and that's the thesis of my book, is that they're using the intentional destruction of the American immigration system to fundamentally transform America.
Agreed.
That's it.
Agreed.
That's it. They're going to change from citizens to non-citizens, because when you have millions and tens of millions of people that are illiterate, they're balkanized because they don't speak. It's going to be like Tower of Babel. Nobody speaks the English language. There's 100 languages being spoken and another 100 or so dialects that don't even coexist inside that language being spoken. They're going to balkanize us. They're going to funnel money to those balkanized groups, and they're going to vote for power. And you're going to see the destruction of America. You're talking about American citizens now that refer to the United States of America as a democracy. We're not a democracy. We're a republic. But my point being, American citizens don't even understand the form of government that governs them. How do you expect individuals that are illiterate in their own language from Sudan, Yemen, Ecuador, Mexico, on and on and on, how the hell are they going to come to America, become U.S. citizens, and then know and assert their rights, their Second Amendment, their First Amendment, all their voting rights? They don't even know how to read. How in the hell are they going to read the Constitution and the Bill of Rights? Do you see the why? Do you see how things are going to change rapidly? And look, CIS.org doesn't even, no one even argues with them, Gil.
Yeah.
Like, their numbers are so straight. No one even argues. So you're looking at prior, and I have it in my book, MIT and Yale did a study in 2018, and they came to the conclusion after running their algorithm 1 million times that 22 million illegal aliens were in America. That's in 2018. I believe since Biden's come in office, even if I use their numbers, we're at 35 million. And that's their numbers. They're not even using what I believe, 35 million illegal aliens. So that's 10%, people. 10% of your country of people living here are illegal aliens. Explain to me how that's going to benefit us. Tell me how that strengthens America.
Well, here's the
Tell
thing,
me how
right?
That diversity helps us.
Right. Here's
the
lie. Thing, you know, now this administration wants to reshape society to accommodate them. We want to send them to school and have the books and all the instructions and everything in society catered to their languages and their culture and everything else. But the thing about it is that you and I know that there's agents and officers in DHS CBP that could shut that border down literally in 1 week. In one
almost
week,
overnight, Gil. Overnight.
They could shut the whole thing down. And so we know that Mayorkas is not an incompetent, pompous fool.
No, absolutely not.
He is an evil genius. Okay. And even if he was a fool, there's people in DHS CBP that are not fools, that are sworn, dedicated, loyal law enforcement officers who swore to protect this country from enemies, both foreign and domestic. Unfortunately, they're more domestic than foreign right now, right? Because we're literally fighting a battle against our own government.
Yes, I absolutely believe that. I believe our government is our enemy. I do. I don't find any joy in that. Look, you have a president. You have a president that has already been shown that he and his family have over almost 20 LLCs. They have tracked over $20 million that have been given to foreign, just from Russia, Uzbekistan, one of the Kazans, and Ukraine. $20 million filled to their coffers. We have a DHS secretary that has destroyed and eviscerated all the immigration laws.
Yes.
All of them.
Yes.
And again, I come back to the very sane, rational question. If you don't believe what I'm saying, like my theory, but we all agree that this is happening. We can't dispute that the border's open, that's poured over. You can't dispute that our president is corrupt. You can't dispute any of that. Then tell me what your rational explanation for what's happening to America right now. Explain it to me. Tell me I'm wrong. I personally want to be wrong, Gil. I want to be wrong about this, but I'm not. I wish I told this yesterday to this big podcaster. I said, I wish I was holding up my book and it said, Trump, how we won the border wars. I would love to be talking about how abysmal it used to be, and Trump secured the border, and we're eradicating our nation. This is great, and how we could increase legal immigration and make it beneficial to Americans first, but also to the legal immigrants, so they're not being abused and put into slave labor.
Well,
but I'm not talking about that.
As a true author, you've just basically segued us into our next podcast with the next chapter.
Good. Chapter 3 next week.
That was a nice one. That was a good job there. So chapter 3
good segue.
Is going to be Trump versus all presidents. JJ, we're not in this for ourselves. I don't wake up every morning cherishing the thought of having to swim in this cesspool. And a lot of people accuse, not a lot, because actually, I actually don't get a lot of negative press, a negative directed at me. I mean, message directly or anything else. It's just a few handful. But the idea that, I'm making money, I give away almost half of my merchandise to agents across the country and other people that are supporting the cause or just for morale purposes and things like that. And trust me, ask my wife if this has been good for our life and our marriage and everything else. She has been a border widow in the 2.5 years that I've been retired. So we're not, this is not a fun thing. I would literally rather be, going through Joe Banco's book and breaking down history from the beginning and telling all those stories. But right now, we are in an emergency, a crisis. That word seems like it's getting overused, but this is a catastrophe. A catastrophe that, left unchecked, we and our kids are going to be paying for decades on to come. Final thoughts and comments.
I want to echo what you just said. I take no joy in this. I have such great pride in my career and the men and women I work for and the agency that I work for, despite a lot of the morons that ran it at times and the people that
we always have had that.
We've always had that,
but not like
this. But we always had a pride, though, right? And then I was able to, thank God, at the end of my career, really experience true organizational alignment and pride. We had, from the president to Rodney Scott, that we had Mark Morgan in between them that ran it. Our chiefs were aligned. The station personnel was aligned. We were winning. We were winning this war. But I take no joy in coming here and arguing these points. I wish I was saying the border, thank God Trump won and the border is completely secure, or Biden won and he followed through and the border secure. And you and I, maybe we're having a discussion or disagreement on the number of legal immigrants and how do we make this better for America? But we're not. We're talking about the intentional destruction of America. And I'm going to keep screaming in the wind if it's just me and you talking, because when people come back, or my son comes to me in 20 years and say, Dad, I saw those videos that you did. Thank you. Even though it all went to hell, thank you for being an honest dude that just said the truth, even though if people hated you, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm doing this. I'm not, and you and I had this conversation just real quick. You and I had this conversation before coming on. Nothing made me more or makes me more angry in my life than when people talk to me like I'm an idiot and I have to believe your absurd, insane rationale. The borders are not secure. The borders are wide open.
Yes.
There is irregular migration happening because you have allowed it through your policies and procedures.
Yes.
And no, this is not normal Border Patrol behavior. It has never happened in the history of the Border Patrol.
That's
We're
right.
about to celebrate our 100-year anniversary.
Oh.
Never has this been done. So all you young agents that are watching this, and I know a lot of you do not sell your reputation and your soul to push propaganda lies. If you don't want to say anything, then just keep your mouth shut, which we all had to do throughout our career, me included, when we saw the hypocrisy and we saw the lies, and all we could do was just shut up because we were worried about we're going to get demoted or get days on the beach. But do not parrot lies and tarnish your uniform and your badge. Do not do it.
In effect, tarnishing everybody's uniform and badge.
Yes.
Because you represent us, like it or not, you represent us. Thank you so much, JJ. Your book, Invaded, The Intentional Destruction of American Immigration System, is available on Amazon for everybody to see. The links are going to be, when I post this, the links will be there. And I am so looking forward to next week when we discuss chapter 3.
All right, Gil, thank you so much, man. Have a great weekend.
Hey, you too. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Old Patrol HQ podcast. You can find JJ Carroll's book on Amazon. Join us next week for chapter 3. For more, follow me at Old Patrol HQ on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and visit my website at oldpatrolhq.bigcartel.com. Honor first, or no honor at all.